This is Gil Pratt, and we're going to show you, or I'm going to show you how to bring up a simple Spring Boot application. Let's start here. What I want you to do is I want you to Google Spring Initializer. Spring Initializer, and click on that. So at the top here, you can see that we're going to generate a Maven project with Java and Spring Boot 1.5.4. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to keep the group com.example. That'll be our package, our Java package. And the artifact, the thing that we're going to create, the project that we're going to create is called the demo project. And we want to do some web interface to this Spring Boot project. So I want you to search for web and click on the web dependency. All right, and then click on Generate Project. And it's going to say, hey, I'm going to download it to your downloads directory. Save. Ready. Now, in Finder, I'm going to look at downloads, and there it is, demo.zip, and I'm going to double click it, and what it does is it expands it. So it's unzipped the zip directory. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to bring up IntelliJ, and I'm going to say import project, and I'm going to go import that Spring Boot project. Click on import project. Let's go to downloads. Let's expand demo, and let's highlight pom.xml. I don't remember what POM stands for, probably project organization management or something like that. This defines the Java project. All right, and we're going to click OK on this, and then we're going to take all the defaults. I'm not even going to read them. I'm just going to click Next, 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 Finish. All right, and what it does is it chugs away and imports the project. Now, the only thing you have to be careful about here is I had a student who had more than one Java JDKs installed, and he had to go make sure that this was set to 1.8. So what he always had to do was click on File, Project Structure, and he had to make sure that this right here, this project SDK was set to 1.8. So make sure yours is. If yours is not, change it to 1.8 and click OK. So what we have here is we have a Spring Boot application. Let's go look at it. I want to look at it. If I expand source, let's look at it this way. I'm going to CD to my downloads directory, and I'm going to CD in the demo. And I have this command line application called tree. If I run tree, it shows me the tree structure. So we see that we have the pom.xml. We have some other files I don't care about. We have the pom.xml. We have a source directory. And off of source, we have main. And off of main, we have our Java code. And we have resources. We also have sister to main. We have a test directory, which is where we can have test cases for all the code, all the Java code that we have in main. In resources, we have application properties, which is where we can set a bunch of properties that will be read, that will configure the application. We have a static directory and a templates directory. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Let's go back to IntelliJ, and let's go look at our demo application. Now this is our Java main. And all it is if I run this main routine, a Spring Boot application will start. All right. But what good is that right now until we have some web pages to show? So in resources, off of static, I'm going to, oh, by the way, I highlight static, I right click, new HTML file, and I just put the name in, not the .html, just the name, index. And you can see I have an index HTML now. And in the body, I'm going to put in welcome y'all, since I'm in Austin. Okay? Now, IntelliJ automatically saves, so you don't have to save this. Now I'm going to go back to my demo application file, which is my main. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say run the main routine. Run demo application main. It's going to start up the Java JVM to run Spring Boot. You're going to see a bunch of output. There's the Spring ASCII icon. And when it's done, the second to last line says, hey, Tomcat is running on port 8080. Tomcat is a web server running on port 8080. So if I go to local host colon 8080 and hit enter, welcome y'all. So we have a web server running and we got a home page, a landing page called index.html. Now what is interesting here is, let's take a quick look at the POM. And in the POM, I'm going to stop the server by clicking this red button down here. Stop it. And I'm going to minimize this window by clicking over here on the right, this little down arrow. There, minimize that. So this is the POM, which defines everything. And in here, this parent says, I'm a Spring Boot application. All right, and that includes a whole bunch of stuff. The two libraries that we included that are special here are the web and the test library. Those are special outside all the libraries that the parent brings in. So over here in our project pane, oh, by the way, if you don't see this project window, you can hover over this little icon in the lower left, come up and click on project. So if I expand the external libraries, these are all the libraries that have gotten brought in by Spring Boot. Two of them were brought in especially for this build, and those two are Starter Web and Starter Test. All the other ones have been included because it's a Spring Boot application. Let's minimize that, show our demo, pull it over. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a RESTful API. We're done with index.html. We're going to expand in this com example demo package. I'm going to create a movie Java, plain old Java object, just a movie Java class. So I right click on the package here, the com example demo, new Java class, and I'm going to call it movie. And in movie, I'm going to give it 3 fields: private string title, private string rating, and private string, oh, not string, double runtime. Those are going to be the 3 fields for this Java object. And I'm going to make this read-only, an immutable Java object. I'm going to right-click in the middle of the movie, right here. See where my mouse is? I'm going to right-click and I'm going to click on Generate Constructor. And I'm going to choose all 3 fields. So now I have a constructor that's going to take all 3 fields as parameters and set the local fields. And I'm going to generate the getters for these fields, and then I have an immutable object. So I'm going to right click again, generate getter, and I'm going to choose all 3. Now I'm done with movie. I got a movie object. What I want to do now is I want to create what we call a controller that will listen for URLs on a URL and return some JSON. So back here on the package, the common example demo, I'm going to right click, I'm going to say new Java class, and I'm going to call it demo controller. And in here, I'm going to annotate this thing as a controller. And that way, Spring knows, hey, this cares about URLs. This is going to listen for certain URL patterns. And in this case, I'm going to, you have to tell it what URL you want to listen to. So I'm going to do a map, request mapping, and I'm going to say API movie, because most REST endpoints have the API there in the URL. And I'm going to say response body, which means turn the object into JSON. The movie object is what I'm going to return, but the at response body, excuse me, is going to take the movie object and turn it into JSON. Now I got to give this method a name. I could call it ABC, I could call it foo, I could call it yada. I got to give it a name. Let's give it a name. Let's call it get JSON movie. All right. Now what I got to do is I just got to return a movie object, and Spring will turn it into JSON. So let's return a new movie. Let's call it Serenity. Let's say that it's PG-13, even though I'm not sure. And let's say it's an hour and 45 minutes of runtime. So now we can go back to our main and say run our main. All right, let's go to 8080. So let's refresh this to make sure that's still working. Yep. Welcome y'all, and let's put in API movie. There's our JSON. So we just hit a RESTful endpoint. Next, and finally, let's put up an HTML page. Okay? So now we're going to change the pom.xml to say, okay, we're not just web anymore. We got to tell it what templating engine we want to use for the HTML. Your choice is Java traditionally uses Java server pages. I've never been a fan. You can use Mustache. You can use velocity templates. But for this, we're going to change it from Spring Boot Starter Web to Spring Boot Starter Time Leaf. All right. So we're going to use Time Leaf as the templating engine. And normally, what you do when you change the POM, I think it's kind of a bug in IntelliJ. They should do it automatically, but highlight pom.xml, right click, go down to Maven, and choose re-import. All right, so that'll go pick up the changes. Now, if we look at the external libraries, we'll see that TimeLeaf is now one of the internal libraries. There it is, TimeLeaf is now one of the libraries we can use. Alrighty, let's go ahead and stop the server. I click that red button to stop it. And let's minimize this output window. So now what we're going to do is, in our controller, we're going to put a new endpoint in. Let's copy this one over And let's say the request mapping is just for movie. And let's say it's going to return a string, which will be the name of the HTML file to go use. And let's change the name of the method to getHTMLMovie. All right? So the request mapping is just the movie, and the method name is getHTMLMovie, and it's going to return the string. And so we are going to create a movie. All right, so it's going to return that. Now what we got to do is we got to put this movie into a data structure that can be accessed by the HTML file, by the TimeLeaf HTML file. And what we do here is we put in a parameter here called model. And we're going to add that movie to the model, and then the TimeLeaf HTML can access it. And what you do in IntelliJ is you click on model, which is in red. I don't know if you can see it, but and you hold down the option button and you hit the enter button, and it'll say, what do you want to do? I'm going to say, well, I want to import the class, and I'm going to import org.springframework.ui because there's more than one model, and we're going to say use the org.springframework.ui model class. So now we see in our import statement on line 4, we're importing org.springframework.ui.model. So we have to add this movie to the model, and then the TimeLeaf template can then access it. So we're going to do model.add attribute, and we got to give it a key. That will be the key that's used in the TimeLeaf. Let's use film as the key, and the object of other is the movie. Okay, so we got a key of film, and we're passing it the movie object. The last thing we got to do is say what's the name of the HTML file to go use, and we're going to return, let's call it flick. All right, HTML file's name is flick, and the key to the map in that file is going to be film, and the value that's stored in the map is the movie object. So we need to go and create, in templates here, we need to create a flick.html. Highlight templates, right click, new HTML file, flick. All right, first thing you got to know about TimeLeaf is you have to close all your tabs. See how this meta tab on line 4 is not closed? Go close it. Otherwise, TimeLeaf will complain that it's not closed. Okay, now in the body, I'm going to put in a P, and I'm going to give it some TimeLeaf syntax here. There we go. All right, now what IntelliJ is complaining about is it doesn't understand what this tag is. All right, and that is just the namespace for IntelliJ. And what we want to do, if we want to get rid of that, come up here to the second line, and we'll add the namespace. And we're going to add the namespace as XML NS TH equals, double check that, make sure I got that right. XML NS18, okay, yes I do. http://www.timeleaf.org. So now that we've given it the namespace with th, the IntelliJ isn't complaining about the th tag attribute on the p tag. Let's show the other two fields in movie. Let's show the rating and the runtime. All right, so the secret sauce here is this dollar film.title, dollar curly bracket, film.rating. Film is the key that we added in the controller right here, film. We say, hey, that's the key. So in the HTML it says, okay, here's the key, and off of there I want, on the movie object, I want to show the title, the rating, and the runtime. Let's go back to the main and run the main. All right, let's make sure everything works. Let's go to the root of 8080. There's index. Let's make sure the JSON's still working. API, oh, there's the JSON. Now let's get rid of the API and let's just go to 8080 movie. Boom, there's our HTML. So that's a quick introduction or cookbook to use Spring Boot as a web server.